Ta-da! Whoop! Hello, good morning. Video 907. I don't know exactly how good this will sound because I'm not wearing a headset, but the laptop's pretty close. And you get my Jabba the Hutt. Jabba John Wookie. Um, and whatnot. But this is my time. From 8 to 9 is my time. I drop off my daughter at school. I don't start work until 9, so like 8 to 9 is like my moment of peace and serenity. Um, which there's not much of these days, and I guess that's kind of what I wanted to just a little coffee chat. Hopefully, get you a cup of coffee or tea or whatever your beverage of choice is, whatever you enjoy. Um, it's been a rough week. It's been a rough week for transgender folks. Um, Not that we really have had some good weeks to compare it to, but relatively speaking, we only know what is going on in the world through because we're not clairvoyant, only through what comes in over the TV or the internet, and um, unfortunately, like Yahoo, it's usually how I like get my news during the day. um, Yahoo News is so tailored for each individual. It definitely is skewed towards whatever the algorithm is, that whatever you click on the most. Obviously, for me, if I see a news article, let's say out of 10, and it happens to be something transgender related, I'll read it. So then over a period of time, the algorithm's like, oh, well, she must really like to read about transgender stuff, so I'll send her whatever it is. So then you get every crackpot article from Fox News, about these transgenders, and you're like, well, I don't want to read that. Well, it's like, the only thing I can think of is like my parents. All they watch is Fox News, and so their perception of the world is that crime is rampant. Black people are to blame for your problems. Gay people are weird. You know, it's an echo chamber for a certain perspective or point of view, and I guess it's something that I'm aware of, but I forget it. That what I see, my little window on the world, is also custom made for me. So I hate to say things may not be as bad as they are, because unfortunately, whether you're just seeing a certain focus of information for the transgender community, uh, one bad bill is too many, right? One bad transgender anti-trans bill is too many. So it doesn't necessarily matter that you're getting a focus of that information. But obviously, you can tell when you read an article, like I said, I usually do Yahoo. I can tell the ones written by Fox News because of the language they use, and it's kind of clickbait and stuff that's written to get a fear reaction out of somebody. The language is geared towards getting an emotional anger and frustration from someone who hates transgender people. This trans woman bought a loaf of bread. Well, okay. What's wrong with that? She bought a loaf of bread. You're like, well, didn't you buy a loaf of bread? Well, yes, I did. But I bought but I bought a loaf of bread when she bought a loaf of bread. Okay. So, you just have to be aware, I guess, of the voice and the way that things are written. But anyway, um, you're smart. You can figure that out. Um, but anyway, so it seems like my perception is just way a lot of anti-transgender bills, and it's. I know for me, it's beginning to wear on me. I mean, it's beginning to affect my um, it's beginning to affect my well-being. It's beginning to permeate into other areas of my life. Um, Today, when I was at the grocery store, um, just grabbing a couple things on my way home after dropping my daughter off. Today's Valentine's Day, and someone had accidentally either ran over a balloon or a balloon got caught somewhere in the store. Okay, a Mylar balloon, and it popped. Okay, and it was a loud pop. It was a bang. Okay. And my first reaction was there was an active shooter in the store. Okay. Someone was out to kill me because I was transgender. Okay. See, the seed of fear has already taken root in me. Warranted, justified, because there are people who, um, you know, not to be too stereotypical, but there are some people with guns and an attitude, and they've been dog whistled into this anti-trans. So again, it's an irrational but a justifiably, it's not based in fiction. Okay, fear, and that is the world we live in. It may have always been that way, just for maybe a different minority of people, Black Americans. You know, um, my daughter's going to learn how to drive in the next year, and I'm going to teach her how to drive. The talk that I give her uh, is probably different than a talk that a parent would be telling a black child. When you get pulled over by the police, grip the steering wheel. Don't reach for your driver's license. Don't reach for anything else. Sit in the car. Don't make any sudden moves. Okay, now, you see what I'm saying? There's a degree of fear and precaution. Okay. Um, but anyway, not that's a path, another video for another time. Um, but anyway, where were we going? So my well-being, my mental health is definitely being impacted. I mean, I live in Indiana, and I mean, spin the wheel of states: Ohio, Arizona, Florida, Texas. Um, there's a lot of states right now that are banning. Um, Initially it was just for the children. We got to protect the children. We're just for the children. These children being groomed and da 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 da. Well, now that facade is off, and the bills now are about adults. The bills are about blocking care for you and me if you're an adult. Um, I'm 51 years old. I get my hormones through my work, my insurance. There's no, you know what I mean? It's like I'm not starting off transitioning. I'm established old fuck. And these bills are being targeted now with me. Um, and of course, everyone younger than me, or I guess on the transition timeline, earlier in their transition. These bills are designed to harass people who are considering transitioning or in the closet, or maybe, like I said, someone like myself who's, you kind of feel like, well, hell, I'm past all the hard stuff, you would think. Um, so these bills now are affecting everyone, and I think that was kind of the intent all along, right? Kind of like the abortion bills uh, started off as being, we were going to ban abortion after 36 weeks, after 50, after 20 weeks, after 10 weeks, after 6 weeks. Well, now we're going to do a total abortion ban. It's just a matter of, I can't think of the name of it. It's something envelope, where a politician's views, they try to aim to be in the middle of this envelope. And one is, they're both, the extremes are um, radical. And so as society moves, it's more like an elevator to me. It goes up and down, but you know, as society shifts, the politician either changes their views or you know they're no longer relevant. So anyway, it's been a rough week. It's been a rough couple days. Again, now that kind of the gloves are off or the mask is off, the smoke machine isn't running, and it's very blatantly obvious um, that you have politicians who want to eradicate trans people. Um, you know, the question sort of becomes, what can I do? You know, and the answer is pick up the phone and call weekly. Call your congressperson weekly. Hello, Senator Scratch and Sniff. It's nice to talk to you again. Um, you know, I'm curious what you're doing to protect the rights of transgender Hoosiers. My state's Indiana, Kentuckians, uh, people who, whatever your state is. What are you doing to protect my rights? And call back. Don't accept the, probably initially you probably should not give any clue or context for where you stand on the issue. Just ask the question. I'm curious what your thoughts are on transgender Indiana, Hoosiers, and see what they say. And if it's, regardless of if it's for or against, you say, well, I'm a transgender Hoosier and I want to live here and work, but these bills are making me want to leave the state. What are you doing to protect my rights, my civil rights? And do it weekly, every week. Send them an email, send them a phone call. Waste their time, okay, for lack of a better word. Make them speak to you is about the only thing I can suggest. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, gets replaced too, but uh, you know, I know so far in my own journey, um, I reached out to my senators and my Congress people on the state and the federal level. And once I got the slap in the face, my feelings got hurt because I was told I don't exist and I don't matter. That was my initial, you know, when they didn't know who I was and what I was for, they were very honest. Well, I'm against transgender. I'm against this. I'm against that. And I was like, well, damn, they really hate me. Um, and that's when I gave up. That's when I made a mistake. I gave up. I'm like, well, fuck these people. Now I'm thinking the better route is to pester the hell out of them every week. Not pester, uh, express my opinion every week. Call them. Again, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Um, and in the case of me, my daughter and her friends, uh, it may just be the people that my daughter said, well, she associates with a good mixture of ethnicities, um, backgrounds, and whatnot. But she's pretty fluent. Uh, Not very myopic. Um, her friends are non-binary, you know. One trans man, one transgender man, excuse me. Two non-binaries that I know of. So anyway, these kids now that are, you know, 16, when they turn 18, guess who they're going to vote for or against if they so choose to, you know? So it's like, you know, 2024, maybe 2028, you know, within the next 3 election years cycles. Um, the the ability for these kids, if they choose to vote, if they choose to participate, is really going to change, I think, the status quo. Now, again, you're going to have holdouts. And a lot of what I see now, the irrational, I think what Trump kind of opened the door for, the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the Matt Gateses and the kind of a QAnon quirkiness. Um, you know, that element has probably always been there. It just didn't have a charismatic. Ugh, almost want to vomit when I say that. A charismatic leader in Trump. Um, but anyway, I don't want to waste too much of your time or mine. It's my hour of peace, right? Um, but it just seems to me like what I call the Alamo. Their way of life is being threatened. White supremacy is being threatened. For decades, this minority of people have had the power, and they've lost it. But it's like they're grabbing on to whatever they can. You know, Princess Leia says to Tarkin, you know, something about the more you tighten your grasp, the more systems will fall out of your fingers. Uh, they're grasping on to whatever power and control they can have, and unfortunately, they have very loud voices, they have very big bullhorns, and they have very deep pockets. They have a lot of money to play with. So their advertisements are going to be louder and more prevalent, but that's changing. So, on the one hand, I'm very uh not dismissive, but I know this is not the way it's going to be forever, but I know it's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard for the next 2 or 3 cycles, and we're definitely going to be persecuted. I mean, but it's very blatant now, isn't it? I mean, blatantly obvious. And like I said, I know in my state, in Indiana, with the abortion thing, um, as soon as the Supreme Court did their thing, the governor of my state called a special session of Congress, of state legislature, excuse me, and there was an immediate response. Protests, women, men, children, adults, for and against, but mostly against. I mean, they were in the state legislature, and these predominantly white Republican males took it upon themselves to pass legislation to take away women's rights. And it didn't matter how many women or men or people or voters were outside the state up in Indianapolis outside the Capitol protesting. They were going to do it anyway. They didn't care. Um, so far, I think 6 different states have put it on their ballot, and statewide, the states have not gone for a total abortion ban. So again, when you put it up to the people, democracy, something like the abortion's not going to pass. when you leave it up to the legislature, republic, republic, where people elect people to represent them. There's enough of a majority that is going to pass stuff that's kind of out of touch with reality, out of the democracy. It's where the difference between a democracy and a republic. The Senate. So again, it's going to take a while, but in the meantime, how do we function without losing our shit? How do we function? How do we, that's the challenge now. How do we in our own daily lives function, but also how do we look out for other people? How do we look out for the teenager, the transgender child, the transgender girl or boy or non-binary who is being oppressed in the ways that maybe we did to ourselves? How do we stand up for their rights? I like to think that I'm a mature adult enough, that I can deal with a little bit of shit, but this is a lot of shit, right? How do we? It's a challenge across the board for ourselves and for others. And how do we alleviate that? Especially in light of the fact that the people in power, the people with the most amount of money and the loudest voices, don't represent, if it was a pure democracy, they'd be out on their ass. But it's not. We're in a republic. We're in like a hybrid. Um, and so until we have a couple more voting cycles to get rid of these people, if and I'm not calling for a revolution here. I'm just saying, as part of a republic and a democracy, if the will of the people at that time, that envelope is inclusion and diversity, it's going to take a little while to get the people who are against that are so entrenched in politics out. And Roy Rogers said, I think he said, politicians are lucky that Americans' memories are so short. So anyway, probably stuff you probably already knew, but I know for me, like I said, where I'm at, my sphere of influence, how much of my day am I going to devote to this? How much, and maybe it would be worth it to sit down with a planner and organize my time a little better, make time, choose a day of the week, activism Wednesday, and on my lunch hour on Wednesdays, my lunch half an hour, I should say, I'm going to write down the numbers of my Congress folk, and every Wednesday, I'm going to make a call. And not speak to an aide or a helper. I want to speak to my congressman directly. Again, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Beyond that, again, if I want to set aside the time, then get together with like-minded people, organize our efforts, that might be the next thing for me. But, phone calls can be avoided, emails can be avoided, but face-to-face communication, how much is that investment of time? If I wanted to, I've got PTO time at my work. I could take a day off I could coordinate and go up to Indianapolis and meet with my congressional person and sit down and have a face-to-face talk. Oof, that's an idea. And maybe do that every couple months. Um, again, that's the point that I see where I could do it. So now there's the question of what am I going to do? You know, a Facebook like and a Facebook whatever is not really going to make a difference. Again, we have our own echo chambers. If you go to your support group and you voice, if I go to my local support group and I voice my discontent, I'm going to get 12 other people to say, yeah, you're right. Harumph, like in Blazing Saddles. Howard Johnson's right. What kind of people are we? You know, if we don't get out of our little comfortable microcosm, our microsphere of influence, um, we're just kind of deluding ourselves, aren't we? Uh-oh. I'm sorry, watching my son. Um, so there's room for me to grow. Maybe there's room for you to grow as well. I don't know. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm realizing for myself, holy shit, there is something I can do. So will I have the courage to make the next step, and will I make the adjustment in my life to bring some fruit out of it? That's kind of the next thing. It's very easy, like I said, it's very easy to sit on the couch and do a Facebook like. It's very hard to leave our comfort zone and go speak to people. I do have kind of an idea that I want to do. I want to reach out to other marginalized communities and kind of come up with some kind of alliance. I want to reach out to the Black community. I want to reach out to the gay community. I want to reach out to immigrants, and really kind of come together. Psst, 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 psst. Don't do that, goofball. My children, my four-legged children. Anyway, gone on too long. Wish you the best of luck. We'll check in on this, okay? What is it? The middle of the month? We're going to check in on this in March. And that'll encourage me to get off my ass and do something about it. All right? Till next time. Bye-bye. Good luck in being your authentic self as you define it.